Hello, everyone. I'm Jen Cruz with the She-Squatchers again. And again, we have Mel Skahan with us from the Yakima Nation Forestry Department. And he's also from Expedition Bigfoot and the soon-to-come-out documentary called Native Bigfoot. So you're going to want to check out all of those shows because he's amazing.
But I also did Bigfoot's Reflection about 12, 14 years ago.
So, Bigfoot's Reflection, where can we find that?
You can find that on, I believe, Amazon right now.
I got to write that down while I'm thinking about it. Bigfoot's Reflection, so that I will make sure to look that up too. Because you also did one called Red Earth Uncovered.
Yes. Red Earth Uncovered earlier this year.
Okay, and so the other
2019.
One was the one you just mentioned. Now was what was that called?
Expedition Bigfoot. That's the one.
The one that you just mentioned that I didn't know about.
Bigfoot's Reflection.
Bigfoot's Reflection. Okay. Bigfoot's Reflection. I got it. Okay.
Yeah, our connection is getting pretty bad here.
Hopefully it will be better.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Perfect. So, you were gonna tell us about your Class A Bigfoot sighting where you actually spotted Bigfoot.
Yes. This was. We were working up in the closed area, just almost on the slopes of Mount Adams. Mount Adams is the border of the Yakima Reservation and the Pinchot. East side is the reservation, and on the west side it's a different Pinchot. So cut right down the middle. We have the east, they have the west. So we were working about 5-6 miles from the slopes of Mount Adams, and my partner that I had with me we worked together for about a year and a half before this day, and he shared with me a lot of stories of his own encounters with Bigfoot while he was out in the woods. And we're driving down the road, and I'm the driver and he's the passenger, and it's about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, somewhere around there, and the area had just been logged, and there was, if you know logging operations, they have a landing deck area where all the material unused gets piled up to be burned off later or sold off to anybody that wants to use that material for anything. So that was up ahead to our right. And we're driving down the road and we're talking, and he's looking off to the right and I'm staring up ahead and off to the left. And then when we get by that machine pile, he says something to me. He goes, "There's something back there." And I was like, "Well, what is it?" He goes, "I don't know, but there's something back there." And what is it, a bear or what? And he goes, you can hear it in his voice as he's talking to me. And I was like, all right. So I put the truck into reverse, and then we start backing up, and I'm looking in the mirrors so I don't hit anything on the sides. And then I look off to my left, and then as I turn to look at the left, and then he goes, "There it goes." And I turned off to the right, and as soon as he said it, and then I saw something turn from left to right and take 3 steps, and then he started running away from us and at an angle, and then you could see his movement of his arms as he was running, and he was fast. I mean, he was fast. And so he's running away from us this way, and then he hooks off to the left or off to the right, and then you can see the shoulder movement as he's running. And as he's going out of view from where I'm sitting, I open up the door and I jump up on top of the truck so I can see him as he's going further away. And then all I could see was like the back of his head as he was running. And then I was like, I was deep into my research or gathering of stories, and I always carried a camera for this purpose, this very purpose. I had a camera with me. And then idiot me, what?
Oh, Mel, are you there?
I'm here. I get a phone
Okay.
call. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
So I my camera is in the back. Never when he told me there's something back there, thinking of grabbing it and having it ready. And then I remember, oh, my camera. So I put on my work vest and I went over to where he was. And what he told me before when I was walking out there, he said what he saw was its right arm extended out and it was leaning up against the tree. And then when we went by it and then came back, he was still in that position, like he was like, oh no, I'm caught out in the open. Where am I going to go? And so he's still in that position when we come back. And then when he saw us come back into his view, that's when he dropped his arm and then took off. So I went to the tree, and then the first thing I did was I picked up some bark, and then I lifted it up. And I told him, I said, how tall was he? And then he goes, right there. And then it was right around, somewhere around 8 to 8.5 feet tall. And this thing was slender. And he was dark in color. He was athletic looking. I mean, he wasn't wide or anything like that. But, he could have played football really easily or been a bodybuilder type body. And when he started running away, the shoulders on him were really wide. And then I could make out just jet black hair. So the features and stuff, because everything happened so fast, that all I could see was just darkness running away from me. But I could see the shoulders and how he was moving, and then his arms swinging as he was moving away. And then when he turned to his right, all I caught was just almost like a bowling ball type situation where you couldn't see anything because of the distance and everything. And so after we got the height, then I started seeing the impressions in the logging material where he started going. And then as a hunter, we always, if we have something to mark the trackway with, then we do it so that in case we lose that trackway, then we can go back and reference the last one and try to see where he's going or where it's going. And so that's what I was doing. I was putting the ribbons down on the trackway so that I can see where he was going. Even though I seen the direction, I had to see where he went through because everything was just like mumbly jumbly at that time. And so when he started out, it was a 2-foot turn. And then on his walk before his gait, he was right at 5.5. But when he got into full stride, he was pushing 8 to 8.5 feet on his stride. And then when he got away from us, then that's when he got faster. And he was into the 10-foot on his stride. And so when people say they are fast or they disappear, that's how fast. Watching basically like a dog go from a sit down position into a little walk and then into a full gait. That's what I was seeing as he was running away from us. That he started off with this little walk, then his jaunt, and then once he got his momentum going, then he seen the full on stride as he walked away. And so we followed him for a while, and then he went down over the hillside, and we sat there and was hoping that maybe he'd come back or vocalization or something like that. But nothing ever happened after that, and that was the only time that I ever got to see one. And I tell you what, it never leaves your memory. And when we had to, because we were scouting out our area to work, we had from that point there, we had a 3/4 mile walk down in order to get to our work spot. So we got back into the truck and went down for the day, and then we came back up, and we started our day out to go get this plot, and then come back out and go someplace else. So we geared up, the same guy, and as we were walking down, it's like, man, this is steep. This is going to take us a while. It's going to be a long walk out after we're done here. Why don't we try to get a hold of somebody at the bottom so they can pick us up and then drive us all the way around. We hit this rock talus slope, and so pulls out the radio and he starts to call somebody, and then he gives me the radio, and then he grabs a couple of rocks, well, like this size, off the ground, and then this ground was about like that. It was steep, and you could see why we didn't want to walk back up that. And he took the first rock and then he tossed it over, and then you could see it rolling down a hill, and then it started bouncing off the trees. And then he picked up another one, and then he threw that further off over to the right, and then boom, 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 bouncing off the trees. And when I looked down after the rock had stopped, I looked down and I said, "Hey, there's something down there." And I'd just seen something just go like this. And it was really quick, but I didn't know what I was looking at the time. So I go down there and I get to the spot where it was in between a large kind of cliff rock and then a couple of trees right by it. And that's what it was hiding behind, or that's what it was behind. And then I could see the impressions in the ground, and I was like, huh, that must have been an elk, because it was just all muddled and everything. And then when it took off on a run straight down the hill, and then I could see the branch breaks as it was going through the trees. And then I was like, wow, this is steep for something to be running down and that like that. And what I saw from when it took off and landed was when its heel hit the ground, it was digging into the ground and it was sliding, and the slide marks were around 4.5 feet long. So 4.5 foot, then the heel struck, or then it took its next step, and then the same thing, that foot would hit the ground and then slide into the ground. And then he did this for about 60 feet. And then as I'm going down there, measuring the stride and the length and everything else like that, I was like, wow, this is pretty impressive. And then I started seeing the branch breaks as he was going through the trees. I mean, nothing stopped him. He just went straight down through the trees. And then it didn't matter what he was going through. He was full bore out of there. And then he got to the point where he hooked to the left. And then I looked up and I couldn't see my partner anymore. And I was like, well, it hooked off to the left. It's gone now. And so I started walking back up and measuring everything out again. And then I got into his view. And when I looked up at him, he was standing, and then he started running from right to left. And then there was the rock that was rolling down the hill. And then so he right to left, and then he started running towards me. And by the time he got to me, he was out of breath. And then he goes, Did you hear that? And I told him I didn't hear anything. He said, you didn't hear it? I said, no, I saw the rock that you kicked loose. And then he goes, oh, bull beep. I didn't kick that rock loose. That rock was thrown at me. And I was like, what? Says, yeah, you didn't hear it. I was like, no, I didn't hear anything. And this is, I did the sound earlier, this wah, wah, with the right arm with the lady at Signal Peak. This was the exact same sound that he produced to me. Wah! I heard this wah, wah. And then I looked up the hill, and then I saw this rock being hurled down at me. And I'm like, what? He says, yeah. He says, it wasn't rolling down a hill. This thing had an arc to it. And then it landed like about 2 feet over to my left-hand side. I was like, really? He says, yeah, that's why I'm running down to you now. And I said, well, all I saw was the rock rolling down the hill. And then I went running up there and trying to find the location of where the rock tosser was at. And because it was a talus slope and nothing but rock and moss, I couldn't find anything. And he goes, well, what are we going to do? I was like, well, we came down here for a job. I said, I'm not walking back down in here again to do this. I said, we're down here now. We're going to finish this out, and then we're going to get out of here. He says, we're going to go back up that way? And I said, yes. I said, our truck is up there, remember? And So we get to the plot, and then I could just see his eyes. He's looking around at everything, and I was like, I'm not going to get this job done with him because he's just on high alert, high octane right now. And I told him, I said, I'll tell you what, I'll work the uphill side, you work the downhill side, since he's probably still up there. So he was more comfortable with that. And we're not more than 50 feet apart from each other, but he didn't want to be 50 feet away from anybody. He wanted to be right next to me. So in case anything happened, it would happen to the both of us, I guess. So it took us a couple hours to get this done. And then we tried to get a hold of somebody on the radio and couldn't. I said, well, looks like we're heading up. And we're slowly trudging our way back up the hill slope like that. And then we get to where the incident happened, and he's on, boom, ears. I mean, if he could move his ears to the direction of anything, he would. And his eyes were wide open, and he's on high alert about everything. And so we're walking up, and then we find a couple of game trails, and then he takes off into the trees, and then he comes back, and then we're walking back up this line, and then he finds the next game trail, and he goes, hey, what is this? And so I go over there and take a look, and I was looking and looking and looking. I said, that looks like a bear track to me. He goes, okay. And so we continue our walk back up another game trail, and then he goes off into it, and then he goes, well, what about this one? And I'm looking, and I can see the toes, and I can see how big the track. That's your rock thrower right there. And he goes, what? I said, yep, there's your rock thrower. And so we walked up to the game trail a bit further, and then we found more tracks. And then he goes, let's get out of here. So after that, it wasn't just a mellow walk out anymore. It was like, we were running a marathon out to get out of there. And we get to the top, and it was like around 8:30. So it was getting dark. And he takes off to the truck, and then I stay where I'm at. And he goes, what are you doing? I says, I want to see if he followed us up. Why do you want to do that? I said, well, because I want to see him. And he goes, I'm going back to the truck. So he goes back to the truck, and I watch him walk over there, and then he turns all the lights on, and then he starts it up, and I'm waiting, and nothing followed us up. And then I went back to the truck, and then on our drive out, he goes, I've heard you talk about these things for a long time now. We've been working for a while. He goes, and you say they don't hurt people. I was like, yeah, they don't. They normally don't hurt people. He goes, well, what happened back there? He goes, why did he throw that rock at me? And I was like, well, give me a minute. Let me go through the events of the day, and then let me think this out. And then I said, all right, I got this. I told him, I said, what did you do when we first got there? I said, you took one rock and you rolled it off the hillside, and you watched it. Well, we both watched it roll down the hill, bouncing off the trees. And then you took a second one, and then you threw it down the hill off to the right. And I told you right where that rock had gone by on the right-hand side that there was something down there. And then when I went down there, it was gone. And I tracked it. He hooked off to the left. He circled right back above you. He says, you rotten SOB, blah, 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 blah. You want to throw a rock at me? I'm going to get you back. So that's what he did. I didn't throw the rock. You're the one that threw the rock, I told him. And so what he did is he circled right above you, and then he went, wah, wah, and then tossed the rock at you, and boom, there you go, end of story. And I go, you going to roll any more rocks down the hill? And he goes, no.
Does that guy still work for the forestry?
No, Roy was a great soul, and he passed on. He passed on like 6 years ago, and but he shared a lot of his stories with me. He's very adamant in his stories. He gets really into it if you're out in the open with him and everything like that, and goes through all the strides and motions, just like like I said, when somebody tells you a story and it's actually happened to them, a Bigfoot event, then just by the way they tell it to you.
Yeah, true. That's true. You can tell. You
Mhm.
can tell there's an emotion and there's an excitement and all the emotions that they experience. You can tell that they're really living it when they tell it.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. But yeah, when he passed, I still remember the real good ones of him, seeing him, and it never bothered him to be out there with them. He's like, yeah, I saw one day, and he chased me out or followed me, whatever you want to call it. He says, and then I just drove down the road another mile, and then I went back to work. And I was like, why would you go back to work after that? But he did. It didn't bother him. So he just go right back at it.
Hmm. So how many times did he see a Bigfoot?
It was right around six times that he had seen one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Very fortunate to have those experiences. Very fortunate.
Oh yeah. Yes, it is. And this one here, he actually got to see longer and view it longer. And there's always been that thing of association. It's with kind of like bad luck, but no, I mean, it's just, things happen in your life, and it's just can't predict it, and that's what people associate seeing Sasquatch with. Just because you've seen one doesn't mean anything's going to happen to you. It's just, it was a great event. I mean, I always take it that way. Any connection that I have with them, and but you also got to respect them, of who they are, and where they are, and keep it to yourself. Because I know a lot of people here on the Yakima that protect them, trackways and everything like that. They'll muddle up the track so no one can see them.
Yeah, I tell you, I've always said that if we found a Bigfoot village where Bigfoot lives with their families, we wouldn't tell anybody where it was.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way we would tell, because I just don't trust what people would do with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been certain areas of when we work on our timber sales where we'll have a lot of encounters, almost every other day if we're in there, and but never pass that knowledge on to anybody else. Something happens to somebody else while they're in there, well, they're there, but I won't say anything to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the longest time, when I first got into this, I had a coworker that would come to me and say, "Hey, I'm going to be working in this place right here, this area right here. What's in there?" I was like, "Yeah, he's there." So any new place that he would go to, he would come to me first and ask me what kind of encounters I had in the area.
Did he then have encounters there too, or?
Yes. And the funny one is that the last one that he had was a kind of the stench smell associated with them, and then the tree shaking, aggressive behavior, and then Bobo Fay from Finding Bigfoot was visiting me that day, and so he calls me up, and the coworker, and he says, I just had this happen, and da 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 da. And Bobo was sitting right next to me when I got the phone call, and then he goes, "Mel, let's go check this out. It's squatchy. Let's go, and it's fresh." And so I was like, how am I going to get you onto the reservation? It's the closed area. And then so I was like, we'll figure something out. So we were able to go up there, get him up there, and he had a pretty good time. We never did find the prints that my coworker said were there, but he enjoyed his visit while he was there.
Our reservation is closed too, but you can go anywhere you want to go with the tribal member. Isn't that how it is with yours?
Yes.
As long as you have a tribal member, yeah.
Yeah, so Bobo was the Yakima Nation member for the day.
Yay! That's awesome. I like Bobo. He's fun. Mm-hmm. He's fun. I always liked his energy on the show. He was my favorite on that show.
Mm-hmm. It was hard. It was hard to go around, when the show really got popular towards the last couple of years, and he would come over and visit because Bob Gimlin lives in the area too, and so he would make his way through when they were filming in Washington or somewhere, and then he would stop in. We'd go out to have dinner, and having Bob there for one, you know, was always somebody always talking to him. And then when Bobo showed up, it was like somebody, you know, out of a popular rock band or movie star was in the area, and everybody was just going, you know, crazy. And we were sitting down, and we were eating dinner, and then one of our tribal members, I noticed him just staring at us, you know, just like this. And I was like, oh man, that's so creepy. And I was like, he's coming over. And I told Bobo about it and everything like that. He says, yeah, he says, I normally takes me about an hour and a half to finish a meal. People always wanted to come up and talk to me. And it's like, well, this guy's going to come see you.
That's
And,
awesome.
so he did, and it wasn't as bad as I thought, but you know, so it was just like that, you know, the teen idol type situation.
Oh, yes. Well, you're so lucky to have Bob Gimlin right there locally, too. I just love Bob. He's so amazing.
Oh yeah, and this time of year, Judy's always making peanut brittle,
Is
homemade
he?
peanut brittle,
Oh,
and it's famous peanut brittle, and when I get back home on Friday, I'm gonna stop by the house, and Judy's got my peanut brittle waiting for me.
aw, that's so awesome. That's so awesome.
Mhm.
We got to hang out with Bob a couple times this year, and you know, all us girls are just, oh, we love Bob. We just love him.
Yeah,
He's just,
yeah, he's a very popular guy when he gets out to conferences. I was a bodyguard when a few years ago, and boy, I tell you what, it started out. I mean, there were lines, you know, almost an hour wait for everybody to come see him, and then I had to kind of like make sure everybody was still, you know, acting good when they got up to him and everything, and keeping them all settled down and everything. And but yeah, he's a real nice guy.
he's wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow, well, this has been just amazing. Thank you for sharing these stories with us, Mel.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me on. I had a great
Yes,
time.
yes. Well, hopefully you'll come on again and share more with us a different day. That would be
Oh
awesome.
well, when you guys come over in April, gals come over in April, we can probably do a show there.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. We would love that. We are so looking forward. The She-Squatchers are coming to Yakima. We're all excited about that.
April
I know the girls.
17th and 8th.
Say again. You broke up a little bit.
Oh, April 17th and 18th, 2020.
2020. And so the name of the conference is
Is Yakima Valley Con.
Bigfoot Con.
Con. Yakima Valley Bigfoot Con is what it's
Yep.
called.
Yep.
Yep.
And the She-Squatchers will be there. I think Bob Gimlin's coming, isn't he?
Yes, Bob is one of the presenters as well.
Awesome. We get to see Bob again. The girls will be thrilled. And we get to see Mel and everybody else who's there. So we're really looking forward to that and coming looking for Bigfoot in Yakima Valley. We're too excited about that.
There you go.
Yeah.
I always like this. I'm no expert, but we'll do our best.
Yes. Well, maybe we can put our styles together while we're there.
Yeah.
Yeah. With your drone camera and my remote viewing, maybe we'll catch something on video.
Yep. And then Bob is Bigfoot bait. Then we're good to go.
No kidding, right? He's got such good energy too. No wonder Bigfoot would come near him. That would be, his energy is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mel, and I hope you have a fun time on your vacation. I know your wife said she was getting ready to go somewhere. So
Yeah. Well, gotta do my job around here. So
absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and we'll chat again another time. And everybody, check him out on Expedition Bigfoot, episode 3 and 4 of season 1, and hopefully there'll be a season 2. He's also going to be featured in the Native Bigfoot documentary put out by Bilko Productions, which I think is coming out in January, and then Bigfoot's Reflection on Amazon. Yes. And what was the name of the other one? I wrote it down. the
Oh, red or covered.
yes, yes. So check out all of those places you can find Mel at the Yakima Nation. So thanks so much, and hey, check out our Facebook page, everybody, and please subscribe to our channel right here on YouTube. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for having me.